Welcome back to Frontier Echoes, where the Old West still speaks through stories of courage, compassion, and redemption. If you love heartfelt cowboy tales, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Now saddle up, and let's begin. The morning sun broke weakly through the clouds that still hung heavy after the storm. The land looked bruised, fences torn, roofs collapsed, mud everywhere. But among the broken boards and twisted tin, two figures worked slowly, an old man and an old woman. Their names were Earl and Martha Lane. They had lived on this ranch for more than 40 years, side by side through droughts, blizzards, and every hard season the prairie could throw. Now, after last night's storm ripped half their barn apart, they were trying to rebuild what little they had left. Earl's hands shook as he lifted a beam. Martha steadied it, her silver hair blowing in the wind. They had no hired help, no sons to call home, just each other and the stubborn will to keep going. Down the long dirt road, a dust cloud rose. A black pickup rolled slow through the mud, its paint gleaming even under the dull sky. Inside sat a man dressed in denim and leather boots, a Stetson resting low over eyes that had seen more than most. That man was Cole Travis, a self-made millionaire cowboy who once herded cattle for $10 a week and now owned half the land between Red Mesa and Canyon Creek. He'd been driving out to check his ranch fences after the storm when he saw the couple working alone in the wreckage. He slowed, watching them for a moment, two figures against the wind, small but unbroken. Something about that sight tugged deep inside him. He parked the truck, stepped out, and called, "Morning, folks. You two sure know how to keep busy after a storm." Earl turned, wiping sweat from his brow. "Mornin'. Lost half the barn roof last night. Just tryin' to patch what's left." Cole walked closer, mud sticking to his boots. "You get much sleep?" Martha smiled politely. "Not much to sleep for, mister. Roof leaks worse than the sky." Cole studied the broken boards, the fallen beams, the soaked hay. He'd rebuilt barns before. This one would take weeks even with a crew. He asked, "Insurance gonna cover it?" Earl laughed softly. "Ain't had insurance since the bank pulled our line. Just us now." For a moment, silence. The wind carried the smell of wet earth and splintered wood. Cole looked around, at their weather-beaten house, at the cracked porch, at the couple's tired faces. Then he said quietly, "I'll stop now." Earl frowned. "Beg your pardon," Cole repeated, firm but kind. "Put down the tools. Stop what you're doin'." Martha blinked. "We can't stop, sir. If we don't fix this roof before the next rain, we'll lose all the hay." Cole shook his head. "You ain't losin' a thing. Not while I'm here." He pulled out his phone and started dialing. By noon, the sound of engines filled the valley. 3 trucks rolled up loaded with lumber, nails, tar, and men from Cole's construction crew. They jumped out without a word and got to work, lifting beams, clearing debris, rebuilding the barn piece by piece. Earl and Martha stood frozen, tears gathering in their eyes. Cole walked over and handed Earl a thermos. "Coffee. You and Martha sit on that porch. My boys'll handle it." Earl stammered, "Mister, you don't need to." Cole cut him off gently. "It's already done. World's full of folks who look away when someone's down. I ain't one of them." The old man's lips trembled. "Why help us, son? You don't even know us." Cole looked at the wrecked barn, then back at him. "My pa used to say a man's wealth don't mean much if he forgets where he came from. I came from places like this." The crew worked through the day. By sunset, the new barn stood tall again, stronger, straighter, and brighter than before. The setting sun turned the fresh pine beams to gold. Earl could hardly speak. Martha wiped her eyes and said softly, "It's beautiful, just beautiful." Cole smiled. "Reckon it'll hold through any storm now." They insisted he stay for supper. He tried to refuse, but Martha's voice left no room. "You helped us, now you sit and eat. That's how it works around here." Inside the small farmhouse, the smell of cornbread and stew filled the air. The table was old, the dishes mismatched, but the warmth felt richer than any fancy dining room Cole had ever seen. Earl bowed his head in prayer before they ate, thanking the Lord for mercy and for strangers with kind hearts. As they ate, Martha asked, You said you came from places like this. Where was that? Cole leaned back, eyes distant. Little shack outside of Dodge Hill. Ma worked herself sick keepin' us fed. After she passed, I took a job herdin' cattle. Spent years sleepin' under the stars, dreamin' about buildin' something bigger. When I finally made money, I built fences, bought land, kept buildin'. But somewhere along the way, I stopped rememberin' what it felt like to start from nothin'. Martha smiled gently. Seems like you just remembered. Cole nodded slowly. Maybe I did. Earl chuckled. You know, Cole, money's a good horse, but it'll throw you if you don't keep hold of your heart. Cole laughed for the first time that day. You sound like my old foreman. After dinner, they sat on the porch watching the last light fade over the hills. The rebuilt barn glowed softly under the moon. Crickets sang. The air smelled of new wood and wet grass. Martha said, we can't pay you back, Cole. He shook his head. You already did. Reminded me why this land still matters. A week later, Cole returned with a surprise. A big trailer rolled in carrying fencing supplies, fresh feed, and a new windmill for pumping water. Earl tried to protest, but Cole just grinned. Consider it an investment, he said. Every ranch around here's part of my range now. You'll run cattle again. My stock, your land. Profits split 50-50. Earl stared at him. You serious? Dead serious, Cole said. You folks know this land better than anyone. I can throw money at it, but I can't throw heart. You've got heart. Martha covered her mouth, tears glistening. Bless you, Cole. Over the months that followed, the Lane Ranch came alive again. New fences, green pastures, horses running free. Earl looked 10 years younger, whistling as he rode out at dawn. Martha planted flowers along the porch and baked pies for the crew every Sunday. And every few weeks, Cole stopped by, sometimes with a truckload of supplies, sometimes just to sit and talk. He grew close to them, calling them Ma and Pops. They became the family he'd never had. One evening, as they sat around a small fire pit, Martha looked at him and said, You work too hard, Cole. You ever think about settling down? He smiled faintly. Maybe someday. Earl chuckled. There's a widow down at Red Mesa runs the diner. Makes the best peach cobbler in the territory. I could put in a word. Cole laughed. You matchmaking for me now. Earl shrugged. Someone's gotta make sure you got more than just cows to talk to. Cole looked into the fire. I reckon you might be right. One summer night, another storm rolled in, heavy rain, thunder shaking the valley. But this time, no fear. The barn held strong. The windmill spun steady. The lights inside the house glowed warm and steady through the rain. Cole stood on the porch with Earl, watching the storm pass. You built this place back better than before, Cole said. Earl shook his head. No, son, we built it together. Cole nodded slowly, feeling something settle in his heart. Peace, maybe, or the kind of quiet satisfaction that money can't buy. Months later, tragedy struck again, but in a different way. One crisp autumn morning, Earl didn't wake up. He passed quietly in his sleep, the sunrise glowing soft through the window. Cole arrived that afternoon. The whole valley gathered for the funeral. He stood by Martha's side, hat over his heart, tears in his eyes. When it was done, Martha took his hand. He thought of you like a son, Cole. Cole's voice cracked. He was more of a father to me than anyone ever was. Martha squeezed his hand. Then promise me one thing. Keep this ranch alive. Keep what he built standing. Cole nodded. I will, ma'am, as long as I breathe. Years passed. The Lane Ranch became known as the Lynette Ranch, a partnership born from kindness. Martha lived to see her flowers bloom every spring, sitting on that same porch where the storm once broke her roof. And every time rain came down, she'd whisper, "Thank you, Earl, and thank you, Cole." Cole kept his promise. He hired young ranch hands, taught them everything he knew, and told them the story of the day he saw an old couple rebuilding alone, and how a single act of stopping changed his life forever. One afternoon, long after Martha had passed peacefully, Cole stood by the barn, the same barn that had once been broken and rebuilt. He ran his hand over the strong wood, now aged and golden from the sun. His foreman walked up beside him. "Mr. Travis, folks from town are here to see you. They want to name the new community center after you." Cole smiled softly. "Name it after Earl and Martha Lane. They're the ones who taught me what rebuildin' really means." The foreman nodded. "You sure?" Cole looked out at the horizon. "A man don't need his name on a wall to be remembered. He just needs to do right when the moment comes." He climbed into his truck and drove down the dirt road as the sun dipped low, dust rising behind him like a golden trail. Somewhere in that fading light, you could almost hear Earl's voice, steady, kind, and proud. "Keep hold of your heart, son." And Cole did. He never forgot the day he saw two old souls fighting against the storm, and how three simple words, "I'll stop now," became the start of something greater than money. Because sometimes, the richest man isn't the one with the biggest ranch, but the one who remembers that a heart shared is a fortune earned. Thank you for listening to this story on Frontier Echoes. If this tale touched your heart, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness and doing right by others. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Until next time, keep your boots dusty, your spirit steady, and your heart open. Out here on the frontier, every storm ends, and every good heart leaves a light shining through the clouds.